So, today we're going to talk about a very important topic, a very relatable topic about understanding why housing has become so much unaffordable. Right? We'll understand the entire logic behind it in terms of economics, right? So we have always wondered, and we have always heard our parents talk about that they bought big house for maybe a 10 lakh rupees when they were 30 years old, right? And now if we see, that house might be worth 1 crore, right? So the value increase 10 times, right? The 10 lakh rupees home is now worth 1 crore rupees. But the problem is, we at 30 are not able to afford our own home, because the reason behind that, while the prices of real estate rose 10 times, approximate increase in salaries in the same period was only 3 times. And this is the reason the gap behind the house prices and income kept widening, and today real estate is so expensive. And this is not the problem of a particular geography. We have seen this in India, America, Canada, Australia, Europe, everyone. Even the most educated professionals struggle to buy homes. If they succeed, they are stuck in an endless battle with monthly EMIs. Right? So, what really happened was cheap money, population growth, investors, regulations, and psychology colliding with each other. All these factors eventually led to such a price difference of a house versus basic increase in salary. Right? Now, what should happen? Talking about economics, it's a simple thing. If demand increases and the supply is able to support it, right? So prices remain constant. Prices only increase when demand rises too much and supply is not able to support it. Excess in demand increases the price, right? But why did it happen, right? So basically, when our father used to buy house, their main goal was to make sure that their family had a stable shelter, a place to live, right? Now if we look at the today scenario, it is, real estate is now a wealth building asset. People are betting on the price increase of real estate. This has led to housing being one of the most complicated markets on earth. Housing, which was there to support and be a shelter, is now an investment tool. People are betting on it. People are speculating profits by ensuring that there are price increases, right? So historically, people bought homes primarily to live in them, but over time housing became an investment vehicle. Why it happened? Because rather than being an asset, it also provided you a monthly rent. It had that capability. So people realize that buying house ensures that there is an appreciation of the capital of the asset, plus you'll get a stable rent income, a stable passive income from owning that asset as well. So two gains basically, right? So suddenly Rather than buying only for a shelter, people were buying homes to make money. And that this is where a new source of demand came in place. Right? So again, increase in demand led to increase in prices. But what about the supply side? If supply was strong enough to make sure that the increase in demand is supported, the prices could have been constant, right? So, what basically happened? Talking about the supply problem, what happened was, talking about real estate, it's not as simple. You can't give real estate deliverables in just a month or maybe a week. First of all, starting from the basis, you need government approvals to construct new properties on a new ground. You need labor and materials. You need years of construction. It's not a viable solution to just construct a home in a week, right? And the problem was limited urban land as well, right? So supply is inelastic, it cannot quickly respond to the demand shocks. So this was the problem in the supply side, why supply was not able to support the demand, which ultimately led to increase in price. So let's more understand why the demand rose in the first place. See, what happened was interest rate, especially after the financial crisis, declined across the world. See this area, the 2008 crisis, the interest rate fell, right? This is basically what made the homes affordable at that point of time. See, a very simple example. Same prices of house. 12% mortgage leads to a EMI of 1,10,000 per month. And 7% mortgage leads to 77,000 per month. Right? When the interest rates are low, we have many buyers because cost of borrowing is cheap. When cost of borrowing is high, only some can afford those monthly EMI payments. Right? So this is where the demand side basically boosted. Now it's a simple economic thing. We have 100 houses and 100 buyers. The prices are bound to be stable. The demand and supply are both enough to make sure everybody gets what they want. Right? But what actually happened? There were 100 houses and 150 buyers. This plus 50 buyers, where did they come from? See, the problem is most of the economies, most of the economic activities are concentrated in urban areas. People migrate from rural areas to urban areas for a better living, for a better uh, access to earning income and a stable income. So population started to reside very deep in urban areas. This is where these plus 50 buyers came in the picture. So when there are more buyers than the houses available, obviously people are willing to pay much more than the previous person. So this leads to bidding war and the prices climb. This is housing inflation. When demand exceeds fixed supply, the highest bidder wins. Right? Now, before the 2008 crisis, banks offered mortgages to increasingly risky borrowers, so the housing prices rose rapidly. This is where it happened. Right? This is where the prices started to rise quite sharply. Right? Many people believe that prices could keep on going up, and the fear of missing out drove irrational buying. Nobody wanted to be that person who didn't gain from that increase in prices, right? So prices rose far above the reality, and this ultimately led to the market mortgages default surged, right? Now, talking about the drivers which are leading to increase in price, population growth is one of the most prominent factor which is leading to this problem. Urbanization, the concentration of population in certain areas are increasing the demand for shelters in the first place, leave alone investment purposes or speculation. It is creating problems for people to afford shelters in the first place. Investors demand, institutional and retail investors competing with families, right? Low interest rates, cheap credit enables large mortgages for more buyers. Construction limit, zoning laws and regulations restrict new buildings. If already people are struggling for getting a shelter, and many rich people are trying to buy real estate just for investing purpose, leave alone shelter, it is creating problems for the baseline people who can't afford even shelters for them. Rising land cost, when population are so much concentrated in these urban areas, there is no space for everyone in that particular area. So when the land is limited but the demand is so high, it leads to exponential increase in the prices of the land. Inflation, general price increases, this is something that follows on the backtrack. This keeps on adding to the factor and making real estate much more expensive. Again, higher build cost, material, labor, compliance cost are keep on rising. Of course, materials, again a finite resource. Labors, again they tend to increase their, they expect their incomes to rise, which makes ultimately the direct costs involved in real estate project much higher, again ultimately leading to the increase of price of real estate. All these eight forces are pushing in the same direction for decades. That's why housing became unaffordable. Now, houses isn't only shelter anymore, it's an asset, right? It's not a basic need, it is a basic need for people who don't have money, who just want a shelter, right? It's now an asset that is helping you generate passive income from that, right? So what basically happens is, talking about value of the land, it is expected to appreciate, right? When something is expected to appreciate, it brings in and attracts more buyers, which ultimately leads to demand being stronger than supply, which leads to higher prices, and which ultimately confirms the expectations, right? You are buying a land, you are creating more demand, more people are rushing in to buy, the supply is limited, and your gains are confirmed, right? So the basic reason to point out why this situation arose was the demand grew way too faster than the supply could actually do, because construction takes years. It's not a simple process like maybe a buying a mobile or clothes which could be produced much easily and in numbers within a day, right? Real estate needs time, at least 1 year, and many big projects takes up to 10 years as well. cheap money through decrease interest rates, either to make sure there is no financial crisis, either to support people facing troubles during the financial crisis, or maybe just to decrease the inflation. Homes have now become an asset. People in urban centers are basically creating a concentrated geography where the demand is rising unexpectedly, right? And building housing is quite difficult in a limited time period. In the same exponential way, the demand is rising. So, homes basically became assets, and once home became assets, affordability became a collateral damage. So now you can understand the underlying factors which ultimately led to houses being more than just a place to live, just a place to be a shelter, but a tool, a asset that helps you give a passive income, helps increase the value of the land, and become a profit making machine, right? So this economics behind the biggest challenges in the modern life. Thank you.